Previously on the Fanboys.
It's not horrible, but
really disappointing end.
Disappointing end, losing three
somehow
in a row.
Kansas Wesleyan has a legitimate chance to finally end that streak of KCAC teams getting embarrassed in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
they might make a little bit of a run. I think the experience is what's something that these kids are going to take away, not necessarily a win. Is this the best Bama team that we've seen under Nick Saban?
Probably.
39-year-old Drew Brees, I think, is playing his best football of his entire career.
When I look at the NFC teams compared to the AFC, it's not even close. Miami's a terrible team. They're definitely not going to cut it in. Jaguars are done. The Titans suck.
You go back from, I would say, 98 to 2018. That record is more than likely 500, maybe even a little bit below.
It is so unbearable. I mean, and just seeing him on the sidelines just clapping and just being the soulless fucking ginger that he is, it just drives me nuts. And if Jerry doesn't get rid of him this year, I really start to question whether Jerry actually cares about winning as much as he claims.
And welcome to the Fanboys. We are fans talking as fans for the fans. And thank you so much for being so patient with us. And we are back, Jake. And I couldn't be more excited. I've missed you, believe it or not. I miss talking sports with you. I miss the podcast. I miss our fans interacting with us, Jake. It's just a great feeling to be back. I know we were gone for a while. It won't happen again, I promise.
Yes, and we did actually do some things that we promised while we were gone, and I think a couple things, and so that should be exciting, and a new platform for people to listen on as well. So some exciting news as well, that we actually didn't just sit on our ass whenever we took off for a week or two.
Yeah, and I do apologize, Jake. It was mostly my fault. Swamped with work. I've been doing high school football games, broadcasting. I had 3 games in 1 week, it being on Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday game. And then the week after that, of course, was Thanksgiving. I wasn't going to be able to edit anything on Thursday, and so that kind of just threw everything off with the holidays and work being overbearing and stuff. But Jake, we're back. We're ready to go, and we have a great show in store for everybody here. We've got SC basketball season, and then we have a year in review of all of our fall sports at SC: football, soccer, volleyball, and then we'll talk a little bit KCAC in the playoffs in the football as well. We'll have our college and NFL takeaways as we always do. We are continuing our all-time favorites list. That has not changed anything, and it is our favorite offensive lineman. I know Jake is extremely excited about that. In fact, the segment might go on a little bit longer than expected just because of it. We have our talking points, of course, and Jake, I don't even want to say it, but in our second segment, could the Cowboys really?
No, shut the fuck up.
Nope, I'm not even gonna say it. All right, well, dude, let's get this thing started. We're going to start off with SC year in review for our fall sports, Jake. Talk a little bit about the football season. I'll go soccer season, and then we can just kind of chime in and mention volleyball there at the end as well. And it was a great year for football. A little bit of a letdown there at the end of the year. Didn't finish as strong as they had wanted to, but nonetheless, a great season.
Yes, I mean, fall sports. I mean, this is the best year since we've been really keeping up with Southwestern. I mean, this is the best year for all the fall sports as a whole and individually. Really, I'd say at every level. So, I mean, really good stuff from them. It'd have been nice to be able, talk about it right after, but I definitely still want to give them their props because I think there's going to be a lot more excitement next year heading into the fall for athletics for Southwestern, which is not something we've had in a long time.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Jake. We would have loved to talk about all this stuff as soon as it was over and all that, and we apologize that we missed it. And it also made me realize, Jake, and I know this doesn't have much to do with SC sports as much as it does just in general, but you missed 2 weeks of the sports world, and a lot passes you by. I mean, were you not on Twitter man, I wish we were doing our podcast this week. I really want to talk about this. Like, okay, cool, hook 'em. You know, like we missed so much shit.
God, yeah, we missed that one. That's rough.
We miss so much shit to talk about. Not that we can't still integrate it, obviously, but it just isn't as hot of a topic right now. So we're not going to go too much far into the past.
Not as hot of a topic, and we could go for 4 or 5 hours on everything that we missed.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it would be a 6-hour show if we talked about if we went back 2 weeks. I mean, it's just crazy how much stuff actually happens in 2 weeks. It's absolutely insane, especially when you're trying to keep up on top of everything like we are. But anyway, with that being said, yes, Jake, SC football unfortunately did end their season on a 3-game losing streak, but finished 500 in the conference play. They finished with a winning record at home, 4-2, a 6-5 record overall, but still improvements all around at every sport in the fall. Not
played
only
K-Dub
football,
well in the last game too. I mean, played it close.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only did football play well, but soccer and volleyball played well as well. But, Jake, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the KCAC K-Dub actually making it decently far into the semis of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's been about 10 years or so since a KCAC team's even won a single round, and we had talked about that before, which is why I think it's noteworthy. But we kind of talked about Kansas Wesleyan actually looking like a legit team, and I think they at least deserve a shout-out that they're in the semifinals hosting a game to go to the national championship, which is a pretty big deal. So KCAC Conference finally showing up at the national level this year in football in a very big way.
Yeah, and it was an extremely impressive road from what K-Dub's actually done. And, yeah, they were preseasonally ranked fairly high. But, of course, you're in the KCAC, so we don't really believe it until we see it.
No, it
and
happens
we're
every year
it.
someone's ranked high.
Right. Every year, Tabor or K-Dub or someone.
I've seen Tabor ranked 2 and then lose by 60 in the first round.
Right. I mean, it just kind of happens that way. That it's just if the KCAC was a Power 5 conference in the NCAA, who would they be? I would venture to say the Pac-12 if they were.
Yeah, probably the Pac-12 because
recently.
Yeah,
like
I would go with the
era.
Pac-12 because they're not even the ACC because there's no Clemson.
Exactly. That I was going to say ACC, but you're right. There's not a Clemson that goes to the national championship every year or represents every single season. So I would have to say Pac-12. I mean. And Big Ten, you got Ohio State in there. That's always going to be in the hunt for things,
especially when they actually try.
Right. And then, OU, of course, represents the Big 12 almost every year in the playoffs recently. And then, of course, the SEC gets about 3 teams in there every year just because of the SEC bias. But, Jake, that's another story for another day. Let's move on to soccer. Men's soccer, they finished 9-8-1 with a winning record. And I think that's the first time in program history that they have finished above 500 in the regular season. KCAC play was a little rough, but did have a tie in there at the second to last game of the season. A very interesting type of situation there. But finishing above 500, that is a win in the soccer program by far.
It's a gigantic step forward. I mean, we've talked about it throughout the year during the show each week, and shout out to them for keeping it going the whole season. Definitely a step in the right direction. It's going to help recruiting. It's just going to help belief and people wanting to stay because they don't feel like they're wasting their time. And that's something we didn't see on the soccer team while I was there for all 4 years. No one really believed in the program, and I think there at least is going to be some belief heading into next year, and that's a big thing. So it'll be fun to see how they do next year and if they can follow it up with another good, successful season.
And we're not that far removed of a winless season. We're really not. I mean, we're really not. It was, like 2 or 3 years ago, I don't think they won a game.
I think 2, maybe 3.
And so, anyway, Jake, we will continue on with our fall review. Volleyball season, they went 20-14, made it to the second round of the KCAC tournament. A huge improvement. All these programs, we keep saying improvement. Well, it wasn't but 2 or 3 years ago. Every single team that we're talking about had a below 500 record and wasn't even sniffing playoffs or KCAC tournaments or anything like that.
Yeah, and for the volleyball team to go not only make the KCAC tournament, which is not something they've done lately, but to win a game in the KCAC tournament and then take a set off of, I think, Ottawa, who ended up going to the KCAC championship. That's gigantic for that program. And I think there's this, I mentioned at the start of the show when we were talking about basketball, for some reason I got mixed up, but it's a big step forward for all the fall sports. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, that it's going to be fun next year, hopefully, for all these fall sports to try to take another step forward and really start to be competing for some KCAC championships, maybe.
No, you're exactly right, and it'll be extremely exciting to see what the football program does, what the soccer program does, and what the volleyball program does. I think all those programs are maybe 1 or 2 years removed from making a continual KCAC championship run. I think football might be 2 years removed, and then soccer and volleyball, I could see them making a little bit of a push, maybe not against some of the higher-ranked teams in the KCAC, but at least making it to the championship game or making it a few rounds deep into the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be fun to see next year. I'll actually be excited for fall sports for Southwestern, which is new. And just going back to basketball real quick, since I completely
just jump into it. Jump into it.
Yeah, but I actually commentated the Ottawa game with Kurt Caden, and that was, I mean, the girls team, they're really young. It's going to be a rough season for them. They just picked up their first win. But the men, holy smokes, they are fun to watch. Cameron Hunt is absolutely phenomenal. He made this Euro step move in the game. That's one of the most incredible moves I've ever seen. Casually dropped like 33 points. Not really a big deal for him. He's arguably the best player in NAIA. I think he is cementing himself as the best player in Southwestern history, and that's saying a lot with a guy named Cameron Clark that was right before him, and he's just going to leave a legacy, and boy, is it going to be exciting when they match up against Oklahoma Wesleyan, who's number 4 in the nation 2 times this year. I mean, that's just going to be a blast. And Friends, who has looked good.
They're receiving votes.
Yeah, they're receiving votes. They've looked really good so far. This team is fun to watch, and I can't wait to see them match up, and I can't not wait to hopefully see them in the national tournament, because that's where this team should go.
Yeah, Jake, I wanted to talk and dive into the men's basketball season. Right now they are 8-0. Their only loss technically was an exhibition, so it doesn't go on the record for either team, but Oral Roberts, an NCAA Division I basketball team, lost 79-62.
Yeah,
I mean, this is an
and
NAIA
they were up early. They were up a lot of the first half. Cam
dropped 40?
Yeah, he casually dropped. He casually dropped 44 the other night. Not a big deal, but he's just. I mean, he's a different animal. They were leading for quite a bit of that game against Oral Roberts in the first half. They just couldn't consistently get the rebounds because, as a 5-man unit, Oral Roberts is going to have the size because of guards and forwards, and that really cost them. But they definitely had Oral Roberts sweating earlier. I was actually able to watch a good majority of that game, and it was fun to watch them. I really thought they had a chance to maybe compete with them all the way into the second half, but Oral Roberts never really just completely pulled away. It was pretty competitive throughout, and that just shows how talented and how good this team is and what Matt O'Brien has built with this basketball program.
Yeah, and they've got a Thursday game, so whenever you are listening to this, it would be today. They're playing today when you're listening to this at 8 o'clock. Yeah, and so, but all right, we're recording this on Wednesday night. But anyway, yeah, and so, but a huge thing that was extremely huge in the Bethany game, Jake, that happened. I do want to touch on this. It is a very touchy subject in the Southwestern world, and I know anyone who follows me or Jake or anybody involved in Southwestern knows where I'm going with this. But at the Bethany game, Cam was actually ejected from the game there at the end while Bethany was intentionally fouling, something that every basketball team does in the history of the sport, has intentionally fouled, and it wasn't all the foul itself wasn't even that. It shouldn't have even warranted a tech, the original foul. I just thought Cam flopped a little bit. The guy had put 2 hands on him. Cam flopped. It should have been done. Intentional foul, shoot your free throws, be done with it, no problem. Well, then a second guy comes running in, and the first guy steps over Cam And then the second guy comes up and steps to Cam and walks over him while Cam's still on the ground. He puts his hands up and looks at the referee and kind of like claps his hands, and that was it. He just clapped his hand, kind of shrugged his shoulders like, what the hell? And he gets a double tech. Cam gets a double tech and is tossed out of the game. For those who don't know the situation, that was it.
They went ahead and set him out tonight against Barclay. They got the Barclay game moved up, and they set him out tonight. He didn't play. Southwestern still won big because it was Barclay. And so if they do decide to suspend him, he will already have set out the game, and it won't matter. But obviously, you would just like to hear the NAIA say that it was because it's gone to the NAIA level with the appeal. You would like to hear them say that this was a mess up by the refs and Cameron Hunt did not do anything wrong. And so that's the hope.
Really
but it was a smart move by the program to set him out in a non-KCAC game that doesn't matter, a game that you're going to win anyways. It was definitely the right move by Coach O'Brien.
But yeah, like you said, a very smart strategic move by
and one
Coach
other
OB.
thing. Sorry, Tanner, I didn't mean to cut you off. One other thing. They weren't intentionally fouling before that, and they had shown no signs that they were going to. So, because I talked to Kurt Caden about this, the play-by-play announcer for the Mound Builders, and he felt like it was one of those cases where the guy, I mean, when you guard Cam for a game, you get frustrated, you get pissed off because he's so damn good. And they definitely had the feel that was a frustration foul from the Bethany player.
The initial foul to me, though, on the I would have just called it a foul. Cam's a big dude. He's not going to go flying down the court 5 yards like after the guy touched him. And it wasn't that aggressive of a foul. It was a foul, obviously. It was an intentional foul. He put two hands on him. Cam obviously flopped. Okay, that's not my thing. My thing is the fact that he got a double tech when two of those players walked over him. That is unsportsmanlike conduct, and that's what the KCAC preaches before every game. I've had to read it myself, is that we implore sportsmanship at all levels from the fans and from the players and all this bullshit that they preach before the game. It was just a hypocritical move by the KCAC officials, and that's what got me the most. That's what got me heated the most out of anything else, was just that, I mean, it was completely unsportsmanlike, and then Cam was the bad guy, quote unquote, in that situation that got punished for it.
I think we've said just about everything, but
it's going to be a great year, and the suspension technically has been served. I mean, he's not going to miss any games because he didn't play the Barclay game. They still won by 21 points. Not that big of a deal. 8-0 record. They're moving on. It's going to be a great year for SC basketball men's side.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
All right, well, Jake, let's move on. We are still in our intro that's going to cover our SC Sports Year in Review and SC Basketball. It went on a little bit longer, but we're also going to have a little bit longer of a show for you tonight just because of us missing the last 2 weeks. We got to catch up. It's going to be a little bit longer. It's just going to be naturally longer. That's just kind of what's going to fit into the groove of things here. But let's move on to our takeaways. Jake, what's your college takeaway?
My college takeaway is pretty much that you have to root for Bama in the SEC title game if you have a heart, because unfortunately, if I were Bama, I'll just put it this way. If I were Bama, I would sit all my players, even my second strings, and lose this game on purpose because it's a bye week. They could lose by 5,000 and they would still get into the playoff because it's the SEC. And that means if they lose this game, 2 SEC teams will get in, which I don't want to happen. And 2 SEC teams still may get in if some madness happens just because of the fact that they love the SEC and they'll put a 2-loss Georgia team in.
Yeah, I agree with you on the fact that they should bench their players just because you're right. If they lose this game, I truly think the lowest they would be is a 3. I don't even think they'd be the 4. I really don't think so. And they also don't want Clemson and Alabama to play in the first round. They just don't. They would rather it be Alabama and Notre Dame play in the first round so Notre Dame can get their ass beat and then play Clemson in the national championship is what they want. Now, do I think that a 2-loss Georgia team, if they lose this game, they're going to be in? I don't think so. I think that'd be too sketchy, especially if Oklahoma wins or if OSU wins big time over Northwestern. But I really do think OSU is going to struggle. But we're going to get into championship weekend here in a little bit. My college takeaway, Jake, was thank God for Oklahoma State beating West Virginia. I know it happened a couple weeks ago. I know this is a ways back, but if not for them, if not for Oklahoma State, the Texas Longhorns would not be playing in the Big 12 championship against OU, and it is 10:21 on Wednesday night, and OU still sucks.
Yes, I actually have my wallpaper set to where it says and then it has a blank space for my clock, and OU still sucks. So whenever I look at my phone, it always tells me that OU sucks, and it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
I really hope.
Pretty smart.
Yeah, I just really hope we smack the crap out of Kryler Murray.
Kryler. Yeah, what is okay, now I know the whole Sam Ehlinger Kryler Murray thing, like back and forth thing. Is that why they're calling him Kryler, or is he just a crybaby on the field? I don't really watch that much Oklahoma football. The only game I watched of Oklahoma this year was the Texas game.
So the dude basically went undefeated in high school, and then apparently he was upset about Ehlinger wanting to shake his hand after the game, and then he had no comment about Ellinger's play.
Right,
and
I knew that.
The like not wanting to shake his hand after the game, that to me is just like, do you really not handle losses? It's your first loss like in your entire football career, and you handle it like a little bitch. So hence his nickname now, Kryler Murray.
Okay. I knew it was the comment thing. Like I knew like
the
he didn't
comment
want to
thing
comment.
I don't even care about.
Right.
The actually complaining that Ehlinger went to shake your hand because Ehlinger actually has a dick and is a man is what bothered me.
Okay. All right. I agree. All right. NFL takeaway.
My NFL takeaway is Coop. I am glad that I took that side on Devil's Advocate because so far I have been on the right side of history. There is no denying and I will admit, I said Cooper's a good player. I thought he's a good player. I've been backed up by that. What I did not think is that he would change this offense as much as he has, because there is no doubt that he has improved the other receivers. He's opened up room for Zeke, and now Dak Prescott is playing with more confidence than he's played since his rookie, or really since last year's Atlanta game, where he just seemed scarred.
Since before that game.
Yeah, you know what I meant. But
yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, but
for the
he
for the
looks
faggots
like
out
the
there
Dak
that are gonna
we saw for that first year and like 5 or 6 games. He's still not perfect. He still needs to get better, but he's definitely looking like there's some hope for him in his career, and you don't have to fold on him yet, which is big. And you have to, again, this front office, kind of like I said in that, this front office I trust. They make a lot of good moves. They've drafted well. They haven't overpaid or reached in free agency, which I think a lot of teams are victims of. You have to give this front office credit. Moves they make when they are questioned or hated by a lot of fans typically seem to pan out pretty well. And I just think the front office, you can say what you want about Garrett and Linehan because I still think they suck, but I think the front office deserves a lot of credit for all the moves they've made.
Well, and I think, Jake, one thing that you missed out there on improving this offense, and I completely agree, I will raise my right hand to God and say I was wrong about the Amari Cooper trade for 3 weeks. I've been wrong. So what happens after this, next year, whatever, I know it's going to be a long-term deal with Cooper, and he's going to be on this team for a while. We'll see what the big picture is. Small picture, I was completely wrong. He's worth the first-round pick. He's worth us improving our offense. But I also think, Jake, Mark Colombo, being that offensive line coach, has just completely swapped this entire offense of line. I'm not just saying the entire offense, but the entire offensive line has dramatically improved, especially with Xavier Su'a-Filo stepping in for Connor Williams. Tyron Smith being out against the Redskins game. They still protected Dak. They still let and opened up holes for Zeke. They played great even though they had those missing pieces in a crucial game. Mark Colombo doing a great job with that offensive line. My NFL takeaway, Jake, no more bye weeks. We get a full slate of NFL games for the remainder of the season. No more bye weeks for the rest of the season. I love it. This is the best time of the NFL season, and both playoff hunts for both divisions, or both conferences, AFC and NFC, are fairly tight, except for the 5 is pretty much all but locked up with the Chargers. Chargers could actually still win that division, which is kind of scary to think about with the Chiefs being in first place there. But no more bye weeks. It's going to be a great playoff run for both the NFC and the AFC. I'm extremely excited for what the last 5 weeks of the NFL season has in store for us. It should be extremely fun. I'm looking forward to both college and NFL. This is one of the few times that I've actually been this invested in both leagues, and both college and NFL, as much as I have been this year.
Breaking news, the Stars have tied the game in the third period. I know no one gives a shit, but I had the game on my other monitor. They were up 2-1 heading to third. They blew the lead and were down 3-2, and they just scored to tie. So I hope the horn came through. It's a little more quiet than I wanted it.
Yeah, it came through on my headphones.
Unfortunately,
I
I thought my volume was set higher. It wasn't. It would have been.
Do it again.
All right. Well,
turn the volume up.
Let's do some bad radio here. I got to turn the radio up. Okay. Now pretend we're back about 15, 20 seconds ago.
Okay.
This is fun. I have a soundboard. It's got
wrong.
Some Trump in there.
Oh, whoa. Why don't you add that shit in the show? You've been holding out on me this whole time.
Hey, I just got this recently. I found it, and I'm sorry, Tanner. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Okay,
right,
I'm done now.
Yeah,
I had my fun.
yeah.
I had to have a little fun.
Use it responsibly. When necessary, use it. I'm going to give you the go-ahead to use it whenever you want to, but do it responsibly. It's a dangerous game, but do it responsibly.
Just like Bud Light says.
All right, Jake, all-time favorites list. Let's move on to what's going to be your favorites list. This is Jake's all-time favorites list.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you start off with it.
Yes, I'm an offensive lineman. I played offensive line. I love offensive line. I love watching offensive line play. This was a really hard list for me to do, and actually all 5 of mine ended up being Cowboys players, but they've had a lot of good linemen in my lifetime, so I think that's understandable. But I do want to say I could literally do a top 50 and have probably no one from the Dallas Cowboys on that list. That's just how much that I love watching offensive line play. But to start it out, Larry Allen's my number 5. It's pretty hard not to have Larry Allen on that list. Just go on YouTube, people, right now. Pause this show. Go on YouTube and find Larry Allen on I think it was Monday Night Football against the Saints when Cowboys threw an interception, and he is about 10 yards behind a corner who got the pick. And he catches him and tackles him. And he he looks like he's running a 3.9 40. And to me, that play alone puts him in there. And then not to mention...
I thought it was a linebacker. I thought he caught a linebacker.
Well, let's just say it's a corner for the hell of it. And if people look at the video, I look stupid. But you know what? We're going to say is a corner who ran like a 4.2.
But he was seriously like 25 yards ahead of him, and he catches him from behind and takes him down.
I think it was a linebacker, but it feels like it was a corner because of the head start. And the fact, it doesn't matter what it was. Watch his speed; it is actually absurd. And
then also watch his combine of
just
bench
watch
press.
him do bench press ever.
Bench press. Just watch his bench press.
Be careful.
Videos.
It is not safe for work. You might pop a chubby.
Larry Allen was the first James Harrison of the workout videos before Instagram. If Larry Allen had Instagram, he would have been the workout video king.
He would have not
in the
had
off-season.
Instagram. He was a fucking man.
No, he would have had the workout videos. He would have had the workout videos.
That is true, because I have seen some videos of him where he has 50 plates on and he's benching it 30 times, and it's just dude, I don't comprehend that strength. I don't even understand it.
Go ahead and do your 4, because my 5 is Larry Allen as well. So that's basically
we have a lot of similar ones, unfortunately, but that's just kind of how it turns out when you have guys like Travis Frederick who are on your offensive line right now, and not only who is just a terrific human being off the field, he is the leader on the field. I think Joe Looney deserves a ton of credit this year because he has definitely not been a chump in replacement of Travis Frederick. But Travis Frederick, when he's on the field, he's the quarterback of that offensive line. He's the smartest guy on the offensive line, and he's been arguably the best center in the NFL pretty much every season since his second season counting his second season. He's just been a model of consistency, and certainly our prayers still go out to him. I know he's started to get some feeling back in his hands from the autoimmune disease that he has.
He is expected to make a full recovery.
And he is expected to make a full recovery and even be back to playing some football next year, which will definitely excite Cowboys fans. But definitely a guy who's great off the field, and, keep him in your prayers with that disease. It's very rare.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go with my number 4, who's actually not a Dallas Cowboy. The only guy on both of our lists that is not a Dallas Cowboy. I'm going to go with Joe Thomas, the left tackle for the Cleveland Browns.
Hard to leave him off
only
my
because
list.
only because of the fact that he played for the Cleveland Browns. He never missed a snap in his entire playing career. Now, he did get hurt his last season, but he never played after it. So technically, he never missed a snap of his entire playing career, set the record, the NFL record for most consecutive snaps played in an NFL career, and that being at an offensive line position is extremely unheard of. Crazy consistent. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Probably goes down as the greatest offensive lineman to ever play, or at least the most popular one.
I think the greatest offensive line to ever play. I mean, keeping him off my list was almost impossible. He's my number 1 all-time non-Cowboy lineman, without a doubt. Yeah. And not only that, but to stay with the Browns his whole career when he could have left, but because he wanted to do it there. He was so loyal, and he wanted to do it there. I think that shows the type of man he is. He's not a little bitch like Le'Veon Bell or something. Like, the dude was a man. He was a cornerstone.
He also just played because he liked playing the position, and he liked playing for the Browns. He liked playing football.
And he's a funny dude. He has a podcast.
Hilarious.
He's hilarious.
He has
awesome.
a great YouTube channel. He's got a great podcast. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah, I love Joe Thomas. I do want to make that clear. He's definitely number 1 honorable mention. If I did a non-Cowboys list, he would be my number 1 lineman, without a doubt.
Go ahead, Jake. Do 3.
All right, my 3 is Zach Martin. I mean, he's been the best guard in the NFL basically since his rookie year. I mean, that's how good he's been. He's an all-pro every year. He's the best pulling guard I've ever seen in my life. The dude's a monster. He's just that rare breed of lineman that you very rarely see, and we drafted him over Johnny Manziel, thank God. And yeah, the dude's a freak. I mean, that's all
the
there
best
is to
thing
it.
about Zach Martin. I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. That's not me trying to be funny. I honestly think one of his best attributes is that he's not Johnny Manziel, and that we drafted him instead of Johnny Manziel. I mean,
another guy terrific off the field too.
Yeah, and Jake, and yeah, it sounds kind of funny whenever I say that, but I mean, he's kind of the reason why the Cowboys are at least in position to be in the playoffs, because if we had Johnny Manziel, we wouldn't have gotten Dak.
Oh, Jesus. He'd be dead. He almost killed himself in Cleveland on drugs and alcohol and God knows what else. Can you imagine him in Dallas?
Yeah.
Holy
it would
shit.
not have been good. It would have not been good. And then we would have missed out on both Aaron Donald and Zach Martin, and then I would have really been pissed. But anyways, yes, Zach Martin. My number 3 is Travis Frederick, Jake. For all the reasons you said, terrific player a terrific player on the field, terrific man off the field. Prayers go out to Travis Frederick. He will be back, full recovery. We'll see you next year, buddy. You're gonna do great things. Love you and wish you well. But a great player on and off the field.
Yes, he is listening. I guarantee it.
I guarantee you he's listening.
Yes, without a doubt. I'll let you go with 2 since I've led on most of these, and we both had the same number 2.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it's your position. I don't mind you leading on it.
All
But
right.
yeah,
I'll go. I have this dude's jersey. Like,
take it away.
Tyron Smith, and I had him at number 1. I changed it. I'll explain why in a minute, because my number 1 is going to be a pretty big surprise, but I have pretty good reasoning behind it, I feel. But Tyron Smith, I mean, I have the dude's jersey. Just look up a picture of Tyron Smith, and that says enough. And again, not safe for work. I mean, not safe. That is lineman pornography. If you just look at a picture of this dude shirtless, and yeah, I sound very gay right now, but that's okay because it's Tyron Smith. The dude is a sculpted statue. He looks like a Greek god that's black, and he's a freak.
Wow.
And yeah, that's not PC. It's not racist. I have black friends, but yeah,
that makes you not racist.
Yes, exactly. But the dude's a freak of nature. He had a little bit of a rough start this year, but since Colombo's taken over, he is in the game he played. Game or two he played with Colombo at coach before he's been out. I guess since the end of the Redskins game. So in the games he played under Colombo, he's definitely looked back to himself, which is just.
Well, what was that crazy stat that you sent me?
Oh yeah. So get this: since Colombo took over, Tyron Smith had started in 3 games, and he didn't give up. What was it? He didn't even give up a single hurry.
A pressure. It was a pressure. Yeah.
He didn't even give up a single pressure, which was and his grading out as well. It was the best 3-game stretch of his career. As soon as Colombo took over, it's amazing how much coaching affects the game, because Paul Alexander was a fucking moron who taught a aggressive offensive line a timid way to play the position. And what do you know? All of a sudden, the pocket would cave quickly, because that's what happens when you play timid, when you have freaks of nature that need to play aggressive.
Yeah, so that was is also my number 2, but I'm going to go ahead and take number 1 so you can end off with number 1. My number 1 is Zach Martin. He's been my favorite player. He's been the overall best player on the Dallas Cowboys since he got drafted. And yes, he did play with Tony Romo. Yes, he did play with Dez Bryant. Yes, he did play with Jason Witten. Since he's been drafted on this Dallas Cowboys team, he has been the best overall player on this team since day one, and it still remains that same way. He still is a better football player at his position than Ezekiel Elliott is at his position. And yes, I know that is a stretch.
5 or 10 player in the NFL, period.
Yes, he is. To me, he is a top probably 8 player in the entire league. You got Aaron Donald right there, who went like 2 picks ahead of him in that draft. Aaron Donald. I'm going to go ahead and say Aaron Rodgers. And I mean, there's obviously other players out there that are fantastic players at their position and what they've done for such a long time. But yeah, Zach Martin to me is the best player on this Dallas Cowboys team since he's been drafted.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And then I'll go ahead and go with my number 1, as it looks like the Stars are about to go in overtime. I was definitely a little distracted by that. But Mark Colombo is my number 1, which is going to be a big surprise to a lot of people, because some people may not even know who he is.
They probably don't know who he is.
Well, he's the current offensive line coach for the Cowboys, which obviously excited me when we did that, because Colombo's a badass. This dude, while he was a right tackle for the Cowboys not that long ago, is when I was learning how to play football, and then when I got into like the middle school ranks, then his career kind of ended when I was at the start of high school. This dude was in a heavy metal band while he played. You can find clips of it on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. He is just, if you design a lineman, as far as he's not the best athlete at offensive line, he's not Tyron Smith, he's not the best talent, but he is the nastiest lineman I've ever seen. I mean,
he's a mean motherfucker.
He wanted to fucking kill people. His goal was to kill people. And the reason he's my number 1 is because I modeled my game after him. I wanted to be Colombo. I wanted to be the nastiest guy on the field. I wanted to make people fear me. I wanted to make people watch film and not want to play against me the next week. He was my role model almost, as far as offensive linemen.
Why would they play you the next week?
What?
Why would those players play you the next week if you just played them?
Well, I said watch film, because you watch film of the team you're about to play.
Yeah, but you
not
just
that
said
you know that because you're not an athlete, but it's okay.
But you just said that you didn't want them to play you next week. You wouldn't be playing them the next week.
They would be watching film during the week and not want to play me that way. Fuck off, Tanner. God. 2-week break and I'm already sick of them again. Jesus.
All right, Jake. Well, yes, Mark Colombo, you're number 1. I love it. I love it. Anyway, Jake, let's go to our talking points. Let's start off. Big news around the area, and I know we're going to get into our championship game, but just real quickly, let's touch on this, and then we can segue into some more Big 12 play. But less miles to KU. I've been really interested, Jake, to see what your opinion of this is and what you kind of think about it. I'm going to go ahead and give you my quick opinion on less miles to KU, the Mad Hatter. I think it's just KU doing something anything to just get attention to that football program and just say, look, we're not just a basketball school. I know we're really prestigious in basketball. Can we please get some type of recruiting? Can we get some type of hype? Can we get some type of ticket sales? And that's what a big name like Les Miles will do to a shitty program like KU. He will put butts in the seats, and he'll get a little bit of recruiting. He's not going to turn them around. They're not going to be Big 12 champions, but it's something. They might get 6 wins. Uh-oh.
Stars just won in overtime. Thank you.
There you go.
Against a good Calgary team. I just wanted to make that known. Unless they review this goal, but yeah, I think it was a good goal.
Regular season NHL play at the beginning of the year, nothing could be more important.
They're more than a fourth of the way into the season. It's a lot better than the NBA. Suck my dick.
All right, Jake. What do you think about Les Miles?
I think it's a good hire by KU. It's a guy with a big name. It's going to help their recruiting. Even at the end of LSU, it's not like he was a bad coach. I think that I think it's a good hire by KU. I mean, you needed to hire a guy like that to jumpstart this program at the least. It's going to be pretty tough to find a no-name guy and him actually turn out to be good. So I think it's a good hire by KU. I mean, I don't think it's going to make them in power, but I definitely think it's gonna help them. And I think they already have some better talent. That Puka Williams kid is unbelievable.
The running back is very good.
Yeah, Puka, and he's got the greatest name, Puka Williams.
Yeah,
Puka Boo.
Like a
sorry.
Oh, he sounds like Pook. Like a Pokemon.
Yes.
Puka Poo.
But no, I think it's a good hire. I mean, like you said,
it's
Jesus, no, let's not go. Then we have to explain that. Let's not do that. That's another time.
That's a long story.
Also NHL.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think it's a good hire. I mean, he's definitely older, and I don't think it's like a long term thing.
No,
but I think it's a good. It's a good hire by KU. It's about the best hire they could have done.
Yes.
It puts them in the headlines. It's going to help their recruiting. They already have some better talent, and I think they have a good base for him to build around. Their defense isn't that bad. They have a good running back. I mean, I think Les Miles is going to make this team immediately better next year.
I think they're going to be a 6 win. They could possibly, a bowl game.
I think it's realistic.
6 wins, bowl game. I think they can do it.
They played some teams close at the end. OU, Texas, and
yeah.
I knew that game was going to be close when Texas was going into it. Senior day for them, and I knew KU would come out and play a good game because they are not an untalented team anymore. They just need some direction. And they need to, and they did keep the goal good, so Stars win. But yeah, I think it's a good hire. I mean, I think if you're a KU fan, you should be excited about this.
And talking about Big 12 football, let's go into championship weekend, Jake. We're going to go through all Power 5 conference games. Actually, I don't even know who's playing in the Pac-12, so we may not even talk about that one.
I do.
But let's start off with the Big 12 championship game. Texas OU. OU sucks. It's a Red River rival rematch, and a lot of people are giving Texas no shot, like a 0% chance of winning this game just because they won it in the regular season.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of silly not. I mean, Texas could go out there and get killed, and I'm still going to be happy because they're in the Big 12 championship, but yeah. I want them to win this game, obviously, and I think it's silly for people that are writing off Texas because, I mean, OU doesn't have a defense. But I will say this. I think this game depends a lot on how healthy is Ellinger's shoulder going to be. If he can't drive the ball downfield, I don't think Shane Buechele can win them the game. I still think it has to be Ellinger because of his running ability too. But I think that's going to be a very big story when this game starts is how is Ellinger's shoulder because he's been fighting an AC sprain for the last few weeks. He re-aggravated it in the Iowa State game. Against KU, I know it was definitely an issue, though the wind was a big issue in that game too. And so I think it's going to be interesting. But Ellinger, he's been a Texas fan his whole life. He always planned on going to Texas. It was the easiest commit to ever get for the University of Texas. Well, he bleeds orange, and I think he's going to show
between him
up.
And Brecken Hager.
Yeah,
Between him and Brecken Hagar, that's probably the easiest 2 signings that Texas has ever had. Brecken Hagar, the long-haired defensive end you'll see for the Longhorns, said he will not cut his hair until they win a Big 12 championship. So, if Texas wins this game, Hager is going to be cutting his hair off. And for the bowl game, he will not have long hair for the first time in his Longhorn career. That is what I'm looking forward to, probably the most out of anything.
I mean, what a story that would be for him to come in and say that and then do it his last year. I mean, I really hope Texas wins this game. But no matter what, who would have thought a Big 12 championship? Definitely, it's just, and people are gonna say, "Oh, the Big 12's not that great." Well, fuck off, because they're in their conference championship, something that a lot of other schools can't say, and they're definitely, the product on the field has undoubtedly been better this year than it has in a decade, and that is very exciting. And they're young.
Yeah, and my thing is, Jake, OU's defense sucks. And I'm not saying that as a Longhorn fan. I'm saying that as a college football observer of college football. You're saying that as
someone with you kind of have common sense. I mean, if you can see that, right, anyone can.
But yes, no, seriously, OU's defense is not good. I mean, we're used to seeing OU's have a lot of talent on defense, or at least skill guys. They don't really have any of that. They really don't have a good defense, and that's how Texas beat them last time they played, is that they just, not that they outscored, I mean, yes, obviously you outscore them, but Texas's defense held up just enough for just long enough to win that game.
Which is going to be the key to this game. Can you slow down
Murray? And
they
just have to do basically the same thing. The defense for Texas just has to outplay OU's offense for probably 5 or 6 possessions of the entire game, maybe cause a turnover, something like that, and get some momentum on your side. Texas's offense is going to roll. I'm not really all that concerned about the Texas's offense. I'm going into this game, Jake, and I probably shouldn't be. I'm going in fairly confident. I really am. And it might just be because I'm proud that the Longhorns are in this game and they're playing in this game, and I'm not going to be upset at the result either way, But I just I just truly think Texas is confident right now. They really have nothing to lose in this game. They have nothing to lose in this game. OU has everything to lose. They have a playoff opportunity that could be just vanished before their eyes because they lost to Texas 2 times in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas is the better complete team without a doubt, but I
agree.
Think that Murray is that good that he could just win them that game.
I think OU's offense is good enough to win them any game against anybody in the country.
Yes,
I just don't. I think their defense sucks.
Yeah, and I'll get into Murray later in a segment, but yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much have it covered with that. Let's see how it plays out Saturday.
And let's move on to the Big Ten championship game. We've got Northwestern versus Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to win this one, but they have to win convincingly. They're going to have to win this game by probably 3 touchdowns or more and not really show struggle during the entire game to make it into the playoffs, regardless if Georgia wins or loses. I think.
And OU.
Yeah, and OU's going to have to lose. If OU beats Texas, OU jumps Ohio State and gets in.
Well, they're already ahead of them.
Or they're 5. They're 5 right now. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and Georgia has to lose. So, but anyway, I think Ohio State would have to win by at least 20 points, but I truly do think they're going to struggle against Northwestern. This Northwestern team is a scrappy team. Ohio State's going to win the game, but I think Northwestern is going to give them everything they want. I think it's going to be a one-possession game to win it.
Yeah, I wish we could have recorded last week because my take ended up being just perfectly correct, which was everyone was just like, Michigan's going to win, guaranteed. And I was like, no, because Ohio State actually gives a shit about this game. Everyone was like, it's a down year for Ohio State. I'm like, what? They're 10-1. Like, what?
They're number 6 in the country.
What are you seeing? And I was like, they're going to show up for this game. It's at home, and they're probably going to kill Michigan because Ohio State undoubtedly has, the first or second most talent in the NCAA, but they just don't give a shit most of the games because they can sleepwalk and beat teams. And then when they give a shit, shocker, they just destroyed Michigan. Best defense in the FBS, 60-something points? Yeah, no problem. I mean, Ohio State is ridiculously talented.
Yeah, Jake, and
I agree. It's going to be a close game because Ohio State will sleepwalk because they think Northwestern will be easy.
And Northwestern's not an easy team this year. They really, I mean, they've got a very solid team and
good program, good coach.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to show up in the Big Ten championship. I don't think they're going to win it though. Let's move on to the SEC. No, let's save that for last. Let's go to the Pac-12, get that over with. I don't even know who the game is.
Washington, Utah. I was pretty disappointed.
Washington and Utah? Jesus Christ.
It should have been Washington State, and I realized
but they didn't show up.
But, okay, and they're an air raid offense that had to play in 6 inches of snow. I don't give a shit what anyone says. That definitely affects the game. Very much so. It affects
the game. It affects the game, but don't be one-sided. Recruit a running back.
Yeah, I don't know. Their style worked for them all year. I mean, I still think Washington State is the best team in the conference.
You're in Washington. You not fucking think it's going to snow at some point in the season?
Don't hire Mike Leach then.
Yeah, okay.
But he's definitely turned the program around, so you want to hire him. So build a dome.
He's been great. Build a dome. Do something. I mean, either recruit a damn running back and some offensive linemen or build a dome. Whatever you got to do. I don't know what you have to do, but, I mean, you're right. It affected the game. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. My thing would be don't be one-dimensional. Just recruit a running back or something. I don't know.
No, I agree.
Something else because you're in the state of Washington. It's going to be fucking cold at some point in time.
I guess I'll pick, as far as the actual game goes, I'll pick Washington to win, but I don't really give a shit.
I'm not picking Utah. I just refuse to pick Utah. That's the only reason why. All right, let's go to the ACC, and let's go to Clemson and Pitt. I've got Clemson in a pretty big blowout because Pitt lost to Miami, a really bad Miami team.
Sorry, I fell asleep because that game's going to be 70-0. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, all right. And the SEC game, it's going to be I think it is going to be a good game for the Kirby Smart effect. And I think Kirby Smart, he's going to know it's going to be a close game. I don't think Kirby Smart can get blown out by Nick Saban. I just don't think it's possible. I don't think that combination is realistic. I do think Bama wins.
Yeah, if Bama loses, call the suicide prevention hotline for me because if two SEC teams are in, I'm just gonna be so annoyed that Michigan or Alabama can lose the last game of their season every year and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go. Say hypothetical, Georgia wins this game, and I hate the seeding thing because the seedings don't really matter, especially the 2-3 game really doesn't matter. You could be 3 or 2 or 2 or 3. It doesn't fucking matter. You're playing the same game. But if Bama loses this game, what's the seeding in your picture?
It'll be 3 because they'll put
they
Georgia,
won't drop to 4.
They'll put Georgia ahead of them, and if they kept Alabama above Clemson, I think every single committee member would have a hit out on them. So I think they would be forced to put Bama at 3, even though they would love to have just Georgia Bama 1-2 just for the show of it, to show how much they love the SEC.
Yeah. What I think it would be is I think it would be Clemson 1, I think it would be Georgia 2, yeah, it'd be the same as yours, Bama 3 and Notre Dame 4. I think Notre Dame not having a conference championship would push them down, but I don't think it would knock out. Obviously, it's not going to knock out Bama by any means, but I think they really don't want the playoff committee's perfect scenario. The perfect scenario would be Bama Georgia first round rematch of the national championship game and the SEC title game, and then you get Clemson beating the shit out of Notre Dame because I believe that's going to happen, and then Notre Dame Alabama in the national championship. That's just their
and here's my thing with Georgia. The Alabama obviously would be the best team they played. The other best team they played was LSU, and they lost. And they lost handedly, 36-16. Other than that, they haven't played anyone because I don't consider Kentucky or Auburn elite, and I don't care about Florida. Florida hasn't played anyone either because the SEC East sucks. I actually hope Bama wins this game because I think it's a complete annoying disaster if they don't.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I do. I kind of root for Bama. I won't root for Bama, but if they win, I'll kind of be a little bit more happy than if Georgia wins.
Oh, and I forgot. Sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier. I just want to mention it real quick because I think it's kind of funny. Tanner watched Harry Potter because he's a fucking nerd, before he came onto the podcast.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there's the Stars goalie. It's their backup goalie who played tonight. His name's Kudobin. And on one side of his goalie mask, he has a picture of Dobie because people call him Dobie the elf. He has a picture of Dobie the elf just peeking through the side of his mask, and
it's technically Dobby.
Oh, fuck,
Dobby's
eat a dick, nerd.
Dobby's a free elf.
Yeah, Yeah. Why don't you go have a little nerd meeting? Even though I'm a nerd too, but it's okay.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Harry Potter, first of all, so fuck you for that. But anyway, yeah, I did have an 8-movie long marathon, so what? What are you going to do about it? Jake, since we are on the topic of, well, technically we're on the topic of Harry Potter, I guess we could go into the Baker Magic segment. But I'm going to go into Heisman and MVP. Who is your MVP in the NFL? Who's your Heisman?
My MVP, and this one is tough because there's been a ton of excellent players.
And then I'm gonna give you a dark horse too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Drew Brees for my MVP.
I love it.
He hasn't won an MVP before, which is kind of a crime. And if he keeps up what he's been doing, and that's tough because like Mahomes, Goff, I mean there. So many guys are just having incredible seasons, but I think Drew Brees, he's just doing some historical things this year, and I don't care if it's only based off the year thing. I think he just deserves it. I mean, just because of his career, I just think he deserves this award. And then you combine that with what he's doing this year. I would pick Drew Brees.
I would, if you didn't pick Drew Brees, I was going to pick Drew Brees, but since you picked him, I'll go another route. I'm going to go Todd Gurley. I think Todd Gurley, for what he does receiving and rushing for that Rams team, I mean, I've said it before, he is the center of that whole team. I mean, Goff could go down and that offense would still run. Cooks could go down, that offense would still run. The one player that can't
go down, and they still are running.
Yeah, I mean, the one player that can't go down for this offense is Todd Gurley. He is the one guy that they cannot lose in this scheme because everything kind of goes through him, through the receiving end of things, through the rushing side of things. He controls the tempo. He kind of does everything, and Goff is just kind of the guy who gives him the ball. And so I'm going to go Todd Gurley. He leads the NFL in touchdowns. He's like, I don't know, top 10 receiver in the league with yards, and then he's number 2 in the league with rushing. Now, my dark horse that I mentioned, Jake, Ezekiel Elliott. I'm on the running back train.
I like it.
And my dark horse would be Ezekiel Elliott. If you go and you look at what he's done with this team, and okay, maybe I am saying it a little bit as a Cowboy fan, but I'm also saying it because he has been fucking phenomenal this year.
Yeah, no, he's been a freak. And actually, there's been a little rumblings of it, even at the national media level. I'm not saying he's going to win it or anything, and I don't think you are either, but I think it's a good point to bring up that, you know, if he goes on a tear here down the stretch and the Cowboys get in the playoffs and they look like a team who could actually do something in the playoffs all of a sudden, I think he would have to be in the conversation. Yeah, no, I would agree because, I mean, you look at what he's doing. He's basically essentially the same type of player for the Cowboys as Todd Gurley is for the Rams, except they're not 10-1. They're 6-5. That's the only difference, essentially. Right. No, once they got Cooper and they weren't just stacking 9 people in the box, he is just shredded teams, and the whole Cowboys offense, like we talked about earlier, has just changed, and it all runs through Zeke, and they're getting him the ball more in the passing game. He's been a monster. He feeds Zeke, and yeah, he's a leader on the team now as well, which is awesome.
All right, Heisman, Jake.
My Heisman's Kyler Murray. I made fun of him earlier, but Kyler Murray, but the most impressive thing, I think the biggest argument for another Heisman winner is Tua, and some Alabama fans, granted, they smoke a lot of meth and fuck their cousins, but so do OU fans. But a lot of Alabama fans are saying, well, Tua doesn't play the fourth quarter that often, and it's like, okay, so you take all of Kyler Murray's fourth quarter stats, you throw them out the door. And you can keep whatever fourth quarter time Tua has played this year in. And Murray is still better in every single statistic, plus all of his running yards that aren't even added in there. Just on a pure passing basis, he is better on every level. And I just think he is a very rare talent. We were both way wrong in preseason about him maybe not being as good as some people thought he might be. Yeah. He has been better than what people thought he would be, and I think he is the best player in college football. I think if he wasn't on OU and they had a more regular quarterback, per se. I think they would be a pretty bad team, actually.
I think they would be a
7-win team.
Right. They'd be right below a West Virginia. They'd be like an Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley would still be a good enough offensive guru to get them some wins no matter who's at quarterback, but I think they would, it would be Texas, West Virginia in the Big 12 Championship without a doubt.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with my Heisman, Jake. I really hate to say this. I agree with the whole statistical thing, but you take the best player on the best team, and I hate saying that. I absolutely hate it, but we've mentioned it before that Alabama's never had a quarterback like this before, and that makes Bama so much more of a threat and so much more scary than any Alabama team in previously to this one. I mean, this Bama team is probably the best Bama team we've ever seen, and I said that their defense. I said their defense wasn't even that great, and they go and pull a shutout in Death Valley at a night game against LSU, and I'm like, okay, I was wrong about that, and it just you put the best player on the best team, and you've already had this prestigious, great Alabama team that led by Nick Saban, and now you give them this quarterback. Him making that big of an impact to me as a Heisman candidate or a Heisman winner, and so I'm going to go with Tua.
And I think one thing we can both agree on is we both don't completely disagree with each other's picks.
Because whoever wins it between those two it deserves it, and I can just say, you know what, they honestly deserved. Either party deserved it, and both fan bases were right. Both fan bases were wrong.
Yeah, and I agree because there is no doubt. You know, the SEC I still don't think is as great as people make it out to be, but there's no doubt that a lot of the teams in the Big 12 do not really have as good of defenses as the SEC as a whole or as any other conference.
Yeah, and Jake, and speaking of former OU quarterbacks, let's go to Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. This is really the only other NFL team we've talked. Well, I guess we've talked a little bit more in NFL, but we're going to focus in on the Cleveland Browns. They've won 2 straight, Jake, and this is going to be a crazy stat of the day. Crazy stat of the day is they are 1 win away from tying the Hugh Jackson era with Greg Williams as the interim head coach.
Jesus. And they
by
beat
just
Cincinnati,
getting 2 wins.
where Hugh Jackson is.
Oh, my God. Did you see all the horrible looks? Oh, my God. And then Baker Mayfield just calling out his coach saying that he's a fake, that the fact that he wanted them to play for them and then he goes on, gets fired. It's not Hugh's fault. Well, okay, technically it is Hugh's fault that he got fired, but goes and gets hired on with Cincinnati.
It goes on his little media rampage.
Yeah. No, it was
my
pretty
fault.
It's pretty disgusting. It was pretty disgusting to watch what Hugh Jackson did.
He's a fucking
coward. Goes to a division rival. Baker Mayfield beats the shit out of him and then refuses to shake his hand after the game. Love it. Love it.
And have you seen Mayfield's stats since he's been gone?
Oh, he's been
one of
like
the best
7
quarterbacks in the
touchdowns.
NFL.
Yeah.
It's 9 touchdowns, I think, and 1 pick.
9. Yeah.
I mean, he's been
unbelievable.
And he's throwing for like 300-400 yards a game. He's been he's the best rookie offensive rookie player by far. Not by far, sorry, Saquon Barkley, but him and Barkley are without a doubt the 2 best offensive rookies.
Offensive rookies, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think you're forgetting somebody, Quentin Nelson, the offensive lineman for the Colts.
Man, I should be hurt.
They have not allowed a sack in like 9 games. I mean, Andrew Luck hasn't even been touched.
And have you seen that clip where he just pulled and absolutely, I think he put someone like 6 feet under.
You know what? I'm already going to go out on a limb here and say number 1 guard in the NFL is Zach Martin, number 2, Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, no. To me, that's what it is already. Quentin Nelson's unbelievable. He is Zach Martin cloned.
Yeah, no, he really is.
But yeah.
Anyway, back to the Browns, back to Baker Mayfield, back to the exciting stuff. I'm feeling dangerous, Jake, and I think that Hugh Jackson is probably the biggest scapegoat. I actually think it was the smartest thing Marvin Lewis ever did was to get Hugh Jackson because now he can be like, well, we were doing just fine. I mean, look at what we were doing before we had Hugh Jackson. Then afterwards, we're not going to talk about the A.J. Green, Andy Dalton injury. We're just going to throw Hugh Jackson under the bus, and then I'm going to be saved a whole nother year of torturing this fan base just like Jason Garrett is with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, you got to give it to Marvin Lewis, man. He watched the NBA. He saw what LeBron James does, and he's like, I can do it. I can do it too. Get over here, Hugh. Get over here, buddy.
Huey.
Be
Come
my
here,
Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
Be my Tristan Thompson.
Be my blame team, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Where's my JR? There's my JR.
Yes, I really think that's what he did. I agree with you.
We don't have the lead, JR.
Oh, you're going to give all the little LeBron butt buddies PTSD right now.
Yeah.
Because, they were Cavs fans and now they're Lakers fans.
Well, then that's okay. JR.
It's okay. They can't talk back to us because LeBron's dick is down their mouth.
Yeah, well. Sorry, moving on. Jake, you have a little bit of a trivia question for me, I think.
I do. So, only 2 QBs have been sacked by the same player 3 plays in a row in NFL history. Who are those 2 QBs?
So I'm naming the 2 quarterbacks.
Yes.
Or am I naming the players that sacked them 3 times
you
in
are
a row?
not naming the players that sacked them 3. So 2 players, and I have to explain this slowly. Please understand.
So was it 3 different players that sacked them, or was it one player that sacked them 3 players?
I'm not going to use either of the R words, but Tanner's a little special. And so I'm going to explain this a little bit slower one more time. 2 QBs, separate QBs. They're different QBs on different teams.
Not the same team.
Not the same team. I will give you that hint.
Okay.
They have been sacked in a game by a player. It's not the same player in either scenario, but it's where a player got 3 sacks in a row. And it's only happened to 2 QBs in the history of the NFL. Who are those 2 QBs?
Dak Prescott and Tony Romo.
No, that's not even close.
Okay. Let me get a second guess then, because I thought it was going to be something that was like.
I'll give you a hint. Zoom.
Zoom.
Yes.
So he's a running quarterback?
No, that is not what that hint is.
Zoom, Pati Sata.
Think about driving.
Think about driving.
This is fantastic radio right now. We're building the suspense.
The suspense is killing everybody. 2 quarterbacks. Okay, are they like legends of the game, or are they kind of suck?
No, definitely not legends. One had one really good season. The other one is a legendary bust.
Ooh, Jamarcus Russell and RG3?
No. So think about my first hint. Now we're gonna get. I'm gonna slowly lead you to the answer. You're very cold right now.
I'm very cold. Okay.
They definitely know each other. The 2 quarterbacks 100% for sure know each other.
Like on a personal basis?
Oh, very, very personal basis.
LeBron James and Dwayne Wade.
Dude, they're fucking quarterbacks, not lovers. If they are,
you said they know each other.
Here, I can run off that point. So I just said they would know it. They're not lovers, but if they lived in Alabama or Oklahoma, they might be lovers. That's a good. Think about all my hints combined.
Kirk Cousins.
Jesus Christ.
Cousins.
I like where you're going there, but you're not.
Cousins.
Think about it. It has to be 2 QBs. It has to be both the QBs.
Yeah, you didn't let me name the second one. It was Kirk Cousins and someone else.
Kirk Cousins is not one of them. So
okay, all right. Are they currently in the NFL?
One is currently in the NFL.
Okay, Peyton. No, you said one. They're not legends. Damn. All right, you know what? This is
one
really bad
cried
radio.
on the field this year.
Oh, so Derek Carr.
Yes.
Derek Carr.
And
And
think about the Alabama-Oklahoma hint.
David Carr?
Yes. We got there. It took a few minutes. But we got there. And everyone has stopped the podcast, stopped listening at this point. But I hope they're still listening because that is a hilarious stat to me. It's a hilarious stat to me that they each in their careers got sacked by a player on the opposing team, the same player 3 times in a row.
So it was the same player who sacked him?
No, it was not the same player that sacked him. I don't even know who the two players are, but the fact they are the only two QBs in NFL history that's happened to is fantastic.
That is pretty funny. It is pretty funny. Where did you hear that? Where did you get that from?
I got that from my father.
Oh, God. I should have even asked. All right.
It was such a good stat that I even had to take it from him.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. All right, well, Jake, let's
sometimes you
move
can't
on.
control it, Even the losers win sometime. The Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl.
You're right. And the Browns have won 2 straight, so anything can happen.
Yes.
So, Jake, Cowboys segment. Let's go into it. All right. Situation here. They're winning the NFC East, which is a very shitty division. It's the worst division in football. Winning it at 6-5 right now, currently with a 3-1 division record. They've got the Saints, and then the Eagles and the Redskins play. There's a very high possibility that there could be a 3-way overall record tie at 6-6. Cowboys would still be in the lead with divisional record-wise, but they would be a 3-way tie overall record at 6-6 for the lead of the division. And then they still have Philadelphia, and they still have the Giants to go left in their divisional schedule with the Colts, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Eagles, and the Giants to go after the Saints game. What the hell happens with the Cowboys, Jake?
Can we come back to this after tomorrow?
I want a prediction now so we look like complete idiots in the future.
All right.
Or fucking brilliant. It's going to be we're going to look really fucking smart. We're going to look really fucking dumb.
They're going to go into the last game of the year against the Giants, a win and you're in, and they're going to lose.
Ooh,
that's my prediction.
You son of a bitch. You suck.
But is that not the most Cowboys thing to do of our lifetime?
So do they win against New Orleans?
I think it's going to be a close game against New Orleans. They're going to lose, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close enough game to where we're like
a moral victory. It'll be an A&M win.
Yeah, it'll be an A&M win, and we'll be like, you know what? They could beat one of these good teams in the playoffs. All they got to do is get in, and we'll have some hope. And then they're going to beat Philly. We're all of a sudden we're not going to be able to help ourselves because we're idiots. We're not going to be able to. And I'm saying this now, future Jacob and Tanner, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
Are you roped in now? Are you roped in now on a three game win streak? Are you roped in?
I will be roped in if they even compete with the Saints. I will say that.
Okay.
Because I will say this. I mean, credit to the Cowboys. The 3-game winning streak's been awesome. But I think how they play in the Saints game is going to say a lot about if this team can truly do anything. Because I definitely think they're playing a lot better now, and I think Amari Cooper's helped so much. But how are they going to show up here on Thursday night? And are they going to be able to compete with a team like the Saints or even beat a team like the Saints? Or are they just going to go out there and get killed? I think that's going to say a lot about this team moving forward. But I think either way, we're going to get roped in at some point because they're going to beat Philly, and we're going to be like, oh, yeah. All we got to do is get into playoffs. We'll have some film from our game against the Saints. Who knows? You're in the playoffs. Who knows? The Giants made 2 Super Bowls when they weren't very good. Who the best defense we've seen in our life? I mean, who knows? And then they're going to be like, 19 points beat the Giants to get in. It's just like when Texas played KU. It might be a little ugly, but they're going to win. And then they're going to lose by a last-second Hail Mary to Odell Beckham.
Oh, good God. So here's what I think.
If that comes true, I might actually jump off my patio.
So your scenario is very realistic, okay? Here's what I think's going to happen. We beat the Saints. We beat Philly, and we're like, we are atop the NFC East by a long shot. We go into the Colts. We get beat by the Colts because they're playing really good right now. It's okay. Andrew Luck's thrown 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in 9 straight games. It's okay.
It's okay.
Game. We have Tampa Bay. And all we have to do is beat Tampa Bay, and we clinch. We clinch with a win against Tampa Bay, and I've got Fitzmagic comes in and just beats us with his beard. And then your Giant scenario. But wait, there's a better scenario because the Philadelphia Eagles, they lost too. So now all we have to do is beat the Giants. And we lose to the Giants.
Wait, so did the Cowboys beat Philly? You didn't mention that one.
Yes.
Okay.
We beat the Saints, we beat Philly,
Okay.
okay, and then we lose the next 3 games. We lose out after we beat the Saints and Philly after a 5-game win streak. We think we're automatically in. We lose 3 straight to end the season.
That's worse than my scenario. That's actually worse because if we beat the Saints and the Eagles and then, lose to the Colts is one thing, but then lose to Tampa and New York, I need to know I can't be allowed to go into work. I might have to be put in ICU. I need like a line, just like an IV of Everclear going into my system.
And it has nothing to do. I want to make this perfectly clear for everybody out there listening still, because I know they've turned it off by now. I want to make it perfectly clear. I like the players that we have, and I think the players that we have
Love
are
our
capable.
talent.
I think the talent we have on the team is extremely capable of even making a Super Bowl run at some point. At some point in their career, Zeke, Dak, offensive line, Cooper, and the entire defense that we have is capable to make a NFC Championship run to that final game. I think so. I really believe the talent is there. I will never believe it with Jason Garrett as the head coach. I will never believe it as Scott Linehan as the offensive coordinator. I will never believe it. I will never believe it. I will continually believe that we're going to be let down season after season after season as long as they are up there. And I think this 3-game win streak, Jake, and if they beat the Saints, it guarantees him a spot back into the coaching job next season.
I don't know. I think if either of our scenarios happen, that will truly make Jerry snap. I
think so.
Yeah, I think the worst scenario.
I don't know. I don't think it will.
I think that would end his. But what I don't think would end his year, and what I think is actually very possible, is they make the playoffs and then just lose in the wild card or the divisional round. And when they do lose, it's not even a good game. But Jerry will be like, "We made the playoffs. I don't think I need to fire Jason Garrett. I feel low as a cricket's ass right now, but
I'm just gonna go masturbate in my shoe, and then we'll be back next year."
Yeah, I think Garrett's he's the real deal. He's capable, And
he really likes to compete, and Maher, he was a really excellent asset. We really make a great decision there, and then he cuts him in the offseason.
Oh, definitely, we'll definitely cut Maher, and then we'll really have no kicker. But I think no matter what happens, it's just going to end up being, because to me the only result where I'm happy is at least an NFC Championship game, and that is to me the least likely scenario. Let me backtrack. The only other scenario I like is as long as Jason Garrett gets fired, whatever that scenario may be.
And I think that includes missing the playoffs and ending 2 games under 500, which we would have to lose out basically.
Yeah,
because we are 6.
I do think that just involves missing the I really actually think this would finally be the year. Or at the very least, Linehan. At the very least, just no matter what, get rid of Linehan. That's at the very bottom least. If you're making me, if you come to me and go, here's your options: A, we keep our entire coaching staff; B, we get rid of Linehan; or C, we just do something really we get rid of Garrett and hire Hugh Jackson. I will choose B, get rid of Scott Linehan.
Oh,
if those are the only options.
So I'm glad. So here is, and I want to know how you feel about this. This is my little, pre-prediction of going into next season. Regardless of what the Cowboys do on the with the regular season, I still don't think they make the playoffs. I still don't. I truly don't think they're going to make the playoffs. That is me being 100% serious. So I think they don't make the playoffs. I think they fire Linehan. And guess who just got fired at the college ranks? Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. I want to know what you think about that scenario going. And we keep Jason Garrett as head coach, although I don't want it to happen. I think it does happen. And he just gives him another 2 years with a new young offensive coordinator to be kind of at the helm. So if that doesn't work out, then it's Jason Garrett's fault. But they're going to give him as many opportunities as it takes. But I think with Jason Garrett being a head coach, with Cliff Kingsbury being the offensive coordinator.
So I thought about this, I think 2 days ago when I saw something about it on Twitter. I kind of thought about it. First, I was like, oh, fuck that. I don't want that dude.
Yeah, I thought about it. I said the same thing.
But then I stepped back took my hatred away. And it's like Kingsbury was not a good head coach at Texas Tech, but he's a genius offensive mind. And
Yes.
I would be a hypocrite if I said that I wouldn't want Kingsbury over Linehan.
Yes.
I would completely contradict what I've said on air, off air. So I would be for that. Gil Brandt, who's very respected, he's going into the Cowboys Ring of Honor. He is still writing about the NFL. He's still extremely intelligent and ahead of most young people as far as how he does analytics. His takes on the game. He's typically right on most things, and he has said that he thinks Kingsbury will be a very good offense coordinator in the NFL, and that several NFL teams are very interested. And so after thinking it through before my first reaction, I think I can't say I would be against it because I've been asking for a new young guy who's a very good offensive mind to be our offensive coordinator, not our head coach, but our offensive coordinator. And I mean, Kingsbury, that is him. I don't care about his record at Tech. He was a great offensive coordinator there.
All right. Fuck wins and losses at Tech, okay? And put on your just looking at football without ever having wins and losses
Ray-Bans.
involved. Yes, put on your Ray-Bans, take off your shirt, go to a pool party with a bunch of college chicks, okay? Here's what I want you to do. Texas Tech, are they ever going to win a national championship ever? Ever?
Barring a
No.
miracle
No.
since Mike
No.
Leach left, no.
No, they are not. They're not going to. Not with the defense that they recruit, not with the style of offense that they play. They will not win a national championship there. So Kingsbury was never going to be a success in terms of championships, Big 12 championships, stuff like that. That's not what Texas Tech does. They're a stepping stone for great offense, okay? Look at who he had at his school while he was there. Fuck the wins and losses. Who did he develop as quarterback? Baker Mayfield walked on there, and he had to choose between him or Patrick Mahomes.
And don't forget, Davis Webb was there too. And I know Davis Webb was not a great quarterback, but he still started at Cal and is in the pros.
Yes.
They had
And
all
so,
three
look,
of those guys.
And he had to make the choice of who are you going to take. He had to make the choice out of those three guys. He picked Patrick Mahomes, which was obviously not the wrong choice, but it was not the popular choice at the time. It was not the popular choice at the time.
He got a lot of heat for that.
He got a lot of heat for picking Mahomes over Baker Mayfield and Davis Webb in college. Now, yes, Baker Mayfield won the Heisman. He went to the playoffs with a better team like OU. You can do that. But look at the pros. Who right now is in the MVP race compared to who's not in the MVP race? That's Patrick Mahomes. He has the eye for great talent. He has an eye for coaching and building players up like a Patrick Mahomes type of guy to put them in the right system for them to succeed, not only in what he's doing right there in Texas Tech, but in the future in the NFL. And that right there, the eye test of seeing Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes being under his tutelage, I can only imagine what he can do for Dak. I can only imagine what he would do for Dak. And that's why I'm so for it. That is why I'm so for it. And I want to experiment. Give me 4 years with him. Give the Cowboys 4 years with him. And if it sucks, it sucks. You wasted a good portion of Dak's career. I'm sorry, but you've got to try it. I think you have to risk it. You have to.
It's better than what we have now. And
it's better. Like you said, it is an upgrade over Linehan, period.
A big upgrade over Linehan as far as pure offensive mind. So, yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised we agree on this because, we are very different on opinions sometimes. And it hasn't always showed out on the show, but this was something I was surprised you brought up, and I thought we would be on two different sides of this. And so I actually find it a little bit refreshing that we agree on this.
Yeah, but I just think that it would be a worthwhile risk. While you're going ahead and risking things like the Cooper trade, you're risking these things on your team already, getting rid of your offensive line coach in the middle of the season, getting a new guy up there, and just taking that risk of trading a first-round pick. Do it, Jerry. Go all in. Before you die, before you're in your grave, get the team that you want. Get the guys that you want. And I think Cliff Kingsbury should be that guy. Just take the risk. And if he sucks in 2 years, get rid of him and start all over.
If he ends up sucking, I promise right now I will not say anything bad about the Cowboys on that because they will have made a move and tried something. And I'm not going to dog them for that. I think it's worth a try. I mean, people laughed and mocked the Rams when they hired Sean McVay. Said it was the worst hire in NFL history because he was too young and there was no way he could be a head coach. There was no way he could lead the offense. His offense was too different, way too college-like. Well, who's laughing now?
Yeah. He's about to be laughing on the Super Bowl podium.
Coach of the year. Without a doubt, he's the coach
of the year and possible Super Bowl MVP as a head coach. I don't know if that's possible, but he could definitely do it. Well, Jake, that's going to do it. I've got nothing else to say, man. If you've got something else that you wanted to talk about, bring it up now or forever hold your peace.
Hook 'em.
Okay, cool. Hook 'em. It is 11:26 p.m., November 28th, and OU still sucks. We are the Fanboys. We are back, baby, and we are going to be better than ever, we promise. And we've got Twitter. We've got Facebook.
Yes.
Go follow. Go share. Go like our pages. Go do what you got to do. Like, share, subscribe. We've got Twitter. We've got Facebook at the Fanboys. And do your thing, Twitter. Do your thing, Facebook.
And also,
listeners, our loyal listeners love you, and Jake has something to say.
Yes. We should be able to get this episode uploaded to an app called Castbox. It is a podcast app. I have tested it for a couple weeks. I've been listening to my podcast off of it, like Pardon My Take, Joe Rogan, all types of different podcasts that I listen to. They're all on Castbox. We already have an account set up on there, so go on there. And we'll tweet out links. It'll be on the Fanboys Twitter. Tanner and I will retweet it ourselves, share it on Facebook, all that jazz. But that will be a little bit better than YouTube. But
we're also going to put it on YouTube.
Yes.
We will have it on both
we will
YouTube
have it on both.
and in case you can't get it working on Castbox, we will put it on YouTube. But yes, we are going to try this out and see if this works. Hopefully it does, and we hope that it's going to be a much better alternative than YouTube. So thank you for sticking with us, and our loyal listeners, we hope you come back. We know you're listening out there. We love you. Like, share, subscribe. We are the Fanboys. We are fans talking as fans for you, the fans. We love you. Thank you, and good night.